Good morning. I'm Khaki Walton. Checking on the Arts is made possible by contributing listeners, the Memphis Symphony Orchestra, and Memphis College of Art. The Circuit Playhouse presents the regional premiere of Grace that opens tomorrow night and runs through May the 4th with the Pay What You Can performance Thursday, April the 17th. It's a fascinating look at the nature of faith and religion, and it's by a playwright who has been called extremely gifted, and he's written for some TV shows that I know you've probably watched. He was nominated for an Emmy for 6 Feet Under. He's also written for Brothers and Sisters. He wrote on the second season of Lost and created the TV show Dirty Sexy Money. His name's Craig Wright. And here to talk about Grace is the director, Teddy Eck, who returns to our studios. Good to see you this morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Well, I didn't know anything about this, which I always love, learning about a new piece of theater. And I'm fascinated by this story.
Yeah, it's really quite nice. And what Mr. Wright has done is take these 4 different characters that have different viewpoints on their faith and spirituality and kind of put them all in a room together, and we kind of watch them explore. And it's really neat to see the different paths that each of them take with their faith and with the grace. So.
Well, let's talk about how Craig Wright has constructed this, because the play kind of starts at the end.
It does, yeah. It starts with the final moments of the play, but it works, the very first scene 1-1, it works backwards. The actual dialogue itself goes backwards in time. And so that's one thing that this show Grace plays with a lot is time, and kind of time and space, and that's some of the themes that it works in the dialogue too. And so, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it definitely, there's scenes that play with the time within the action itself, and with that, how much, when you repeat time, what can be changed and what can be altered, if anything. So it's some neat ideas that Craig plays with in this story.
Is he saying, if I could go back and change this, would I? Or what could I change if I went back? Or?
I mean, not necessarily, but it's more like this view in viewing these 4 characters is kind of have an omnipresent view of the lives of these 4 characters. And so with that, as you're watching time move backwards and forwards, you almost have a helpless feeling of watching them, but also kind of in that omnipresent, for lack of a better word, that omnipresent view of, could they change anything if they did go back, and would they want to?
Oh, I see.
So it's really interesting. It's really interesting to watch everything play out as it does.
Well, I was doing some research and reading more about this to prepare for our little chat, and some of the articles and reviews said that it's kind of nerve-wracking for you to sit through it. I mean, you kind of know what's going to happen, and so you're kind of like,
Sure, and you watch it happen, on stage, and you watch the transgression, of these characters get to that point.
Yeah.
And it's really neat. And kind of the set, too, I'm not giving too much away, but the play takes place in 2 different apartments that occupy the same stage. And so you're watching this couple interact in their apartment and then this other guy interact in his, and it's in the same space. And so that creates some interesting dynamics and visuals, too, which is cool.
Tell us about the plot. Tell us who these characters are.
So there's 4 characters. You have Sam, who works for NASA, who just experienced a pretty horrific car accident where he lost his fiancée and scraped up half of his face. Then you have Steve and Sarah. They're a devout, religiously couple that just moved down from Minnesota to Florida to start this hotel company. Then you have Carl. Carl is an elderly man who has lived through World War II and kind of the horrific side of that. And so all of them, it all takes place in the apartment, in these Florida apartments, in Sam's apartment and Steve and Sarah's, but it's in one stage. And so you're watching these the couple and Sam interact in that same space, and then Carl comes in. He's the exterminator, so he comes in and shares his wisdom from time to time, which is pretty fun. But it's really watching each of their journeys within their faith and the spirituality. So it's pretty fun.
Well, the character that wants to open the string of hotels, he's born again Christian, and Paul Rudd played him on Broadway.
He did, yeah.
And when I saw the cast list and I saw Christopher Joel Unken, I thought, now how perfect is that?
He really is. He's great. The whole cast is really, because we have Christopher playing Steve. Then we have Morgan Howard, who's playing Sarah. John Manis, who's playing Sam, which was played by Michael Shannon on Broadway.
Right.
And then we have Michael Gravois playing Carl. And it's just really a stellar cast. They do such a great job with this intense and thought-provoking show. They really do.
Now, the character that John Manis is playing, I mean, that supporting role, that's a heavy duty role.
It is. And John, he's great. And he's bringing such humanity to the role, too. and it's really fun. It's really fun to watch all four of them really get on stage each night and work through some of the ideas and topics of the play. And they're just great people, so it's fun to work with them.
And Michael's character, the exterminator, a beautiful monologue. That
it does. He has a couple. It kind of bookends the show. And it's interesting because his character, Carl, lived through World War II and all of the stuff with the genocide, and so his view on religion is different than the others, where he's very much the atheist side. And so it's neat to watch his journey with that too, and what happens throughout the course of the play. Yeah.
I love it that Christopher is playing the role that Paul Rudd did on Broadway, because I watched some clips, and if you go, there's a review that the New York Times did, and you can see video clips from the Broadway show. And it's a character that could be annoying, but I mean, he's so affable, and he's got this naivete about him, and he just wants to tell everybody, about Jesus and all this stuff, and he could be difficult to hate, but he's just so charming.
Yeah, and I think Paul Rudd was perfect casting, because written on the page, it would be very easy to dislike this character, and you don't want to. You want to side with his character, or at least have empathy for him, and Paul Rudd just naturally has that on screen.
And Christopher does too.
Of course, Christopher definitely does. He's a great guy, very charming, and so he brings a wonderful side to it as well.
I don't know if people saw him in Other Desert Cities was the last thing I saw him do, and I thought, because I mean his character in Other Desert Cities, he was the younger brother, and
the producer,
and I just thought, oh God, he's just the perfect fit for this role.
He really is. Really, all of them.
They all are. Yeah, Morgan is
too. Yeah, she is. She brings such emotion to it as well. So
great. She goes next door to try to make friends with the NASA guy, with John
Manis'
character.
Because she's left at home all day because Steve is off trying to build a hotel business, and so she strikes up a friendship with Sam, and they kind of examine. She kind of is trying to bring Sam out of his shell a little bit because he's very depressed about what happened, and
there's funny dialogue. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be as funny as it was, and when I was watching those clips, I mean, the audience was laughing, and the way that Craig Wright has written it, because you've got John Manson's character saying, I'm tired of your crummy cookies and just, just please don't bother me anymore. Just stop it. Leave me alone.
Right. Well, and I think that's Craig did a great job with his script, because it's written kind of like life, where there are extreme situations and you get angry and stuff, but there's humor in that anger too.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you watch it from afar to see these characters yelling at each other for, over the silliest things. But then at the same time, he's able to turn a joke around very easily. So it's just well-crafted. It's a very well-crafted script.
And that makes sense too. I mean, having written for 6 Feet Under, because that was such a darkly tragicomic show too.
Yeah, very dry, very dark, but funny.
Yeah, but funny. Well, there are lots of opportunities for your set design and sound design people to really have fun with this show.
Yeah, there really is, because as you mentioned, we play with time and the idea of space in this, and so it's really been a fun challenge working with Zach and working with Nick, the sound and lighting designer, to really create this world, this omnipresent view, and to really tell the story of time going forward and backwards. So we're doing some great things with lighting and with sound, and it's pretty fun. It's they've really enjoyed it because it's given them a chance to do this concept show and really kind of have fun designing these things.
So what was the biggest challenge for you with this show? Had you seen it before you were presented?
No, I had not. I mean, I'd seen the same clips and did a lot of research on past productions of it because it originally premiered at the Woolly Mammoth Theater in D.C. in 2004. And so, I've researched all the different ones, but like a lot of modern plays, they're written with no time for costume changes. So it'd be like scene 1, and then scene 2 starts, and it's 3 months later, but it's like half a second, and there's the same actors on stage. And how do I change the costumes? So what we came up with as a design team is pretty neat with the transitions, and again, playing with the idea of time and space, and just furthering to tell that story, but also allow us to get the costume changes in and do this and that, what we need to get done. So that's been really fun. It really has. And working with the circuit design team, I mean, they're great people. So it's been fun. It really has.
That's a perfect space for this show too, I think.
Yeah, it is. I like the space a lot. It's intimate, but yet it's big enough to really do some neat design work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to talk about things, but I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, right?
This is kind of one of those tough ones.
Yeah, yeah, it really is neat. It tells a great story. And it's one of those theatrical pieces that asks a lot of questions. And I think it's important to have that, It's important to have the balance between a lot in art, It's good to have the different sides. And this is a piece that I think will hopefully inspire and make people reflect a little bit on themselves and other people.
Exactly. And maybe, I think it's interesting too the way certain characters start out. Mm-hmm. Well, since it's in reverse, maybe not right. Not at the very beginning, but people's perceptions or people's beliefs and ideas when it starts out, and then what they believe towards the end of the play, and things change in ways that you might not expect them to.
Yeah, exactly. And each of the characters, I was just talking to Michael yesterday, each of the characters has a moment on stage that they say when that moment was that they established what they believe in the beginning of the play. They say, this happened to me, blah, blah, blah. And it's a defining moment in their spirituality, and then you get to watch that change throughout the course of the play, and then you get to see them stated again at the end, and it's neat to see the contrast or the reaffirmation in some cases too. So.
Well, I'm really excited about this show. It's Grace by Craig Wright, and it opens tomorrow night at the Circuit Playhouse and runs through May the 4th. It's a regional premiere, too, which is neat. And also want to let you know that there is an adult language advisory, so just be aware of that. Maybe don't bring, what do you think, like PG-13?
Oh, you definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But I think it's going to be a really neat theatrical experience, and I'm really interested to see how they play with time and space. You can get your tickets by calling the Playhouse of the Square box office, and that number is 726-4656, or you can go online to playhouseonthesquare.org. Teddy Eck directing Grace at the Circuit Playhouse, and he's been my guest this morning. Thanks.
Thank you so much.